Hello everyone, it's that wonderful time of month again for Record of Ragnarok. We're here today with Record of Ragnarok chapter 36. Now, this month's chapter came a little later. This review for it came a little later. And that's because I've been waiting for Orang Scans, the main translation group, to do their release for this chapter. And they've been taking a while, which I don't blame them for. I understand that they've gone through a lot of restructuring and stuff lately, and they have a lot of internal things going on. And of course, these translators are not just translators, since they don't work for an official translation company. They have other things going on, like their jobs and taking care of their families. So I don't blame them for taking their time to get this done. Now, there is a translation that's been going around that is an English translation of a Spanish translation of the chapter, and that Spanish translation was basically done with Google Translate. Now, I wanted to wait until the high-quality translation to do this video, but it seems like everyone's just reading this version now, and I'm not going to wait until everyone has already done everything there is to do for this chapter, so fuck it, I guess. I'm not going to be really reading much dialogue, because a lot of it's kind of not great with how it's been translated, but you can still kind of get the gist of what's going on. So, Chapter 36, Destruction and Storm. We go right back in where we ended off last chapter with the Hindu gods cheering on Shiva, and he seems to get hyped up. The scan here on Mangaka Lot had someone's coloring of Shiva, and it's very good. With all the aura and stuff, Shiva's got a pretty crazy face going on right now. Even Raiden's shocked by it. So Shiva goes in to attack Raiden, but he keeps whiffing all of his strikes. And Hermes explains that this is due to his left arm being crushed. That messed up his balance, so now it's kind of hard for him to, hit Raiden, even though Raiden's so huge. So Raiden just comes and punches Shiva in the face, but Shiva comes right back up, and he punches Raiden, and even though Raiden blocks, he still gets blown back, and you can actually see the indentation of Shiva's fist in his forearm. And apparently, based on Raiden's observations and the comments of the Hindu gods, that Shiva's fists have actually gotten heavier, and that he seemingly literally houses the power of 1116 Indian gods. I don't know if they're all 1116, I don't know how many Hindu gods there are. So I don't know if it's just 1116 of the Hindu gods, or if it's yes, he is the avatar of all of our power. Because, once again, I don't know too much about Hindu mythology. But Raiden and Shiva start going blow for blow, and then they just start getting into a headbutting match. And while this is going on, Shiva starts to reminisce about his past fighting when he first felt the heat of battle thousands of years ago. And he thinks of someone named Rudra. So now we go into Shiva's backstory, which I've been waiting for quite some time. So it's explained that in the Kingdom of the Gods of India, there were thousands of gods, and no one was the head of the pantheon. So everyone was competing to be the strongest gods, the head god. So we have the Asuras, which are basically demons. They're pretty much the bad guys in Hindu mythology. Then we get a slideshow, pretty much, of a bunch of different Indian gods. We have Indra, Agni, Varna, Vishnu, and Brahma. Now, these are actually different from some of the gods that we saw in the stands last month. I assumed those guys would be Vishnu and Brahma based on their designs, but apparently not. Now, these people don't have designs that resemble the actual mythological Vishnu and Brahma, but they're still very cool. So, I don't know who Varna is, but I understand that Indra is the god of, lightning or something? I don't remember. Because Rudra is the god of storms, but I'm pretty sure Indra is the lightning god or something. And those are actually pretty frequently different things in mythology. And Agni, I know, is, I think, the fire god. Vishnu, of course, is the god of preservation, I believe, And then we have Brahma, who I believe is the god of creation. I think. I may have those two mixed up. It's been a little bit. But then we go in to meet young Shiva, who's hanging out with a cow. And there's some things of note that I will discuss later on in the video. And then we meet Rudra, who looks a lot like Raiden. I will discuss this closer to the end of the video. I'm just going to sort of go through the story and give very basic level analysis, and then I will explain the big things at the end of this video. So, Shiva asks Rudra if he ever gets tired of training all the time, and he says, yeah, but I want to get stronger, so I keep doing it anyway. And then Shiva basically says that he likes dancing more, so he starts dancing. This pretty much confirms, this is like a 100% confirmation for me that Shiva's serious mode will be the Dance of Destruction. So they're just chilling, and then these other two gods, who are some of the gods that we saw in the audience, are coming and telling them that there are these assassin brothers from the Asura that are in town. And Rudra and Shiva are basically the guys that they go and run to whenever they need help with anything. So we see one of the older brothers, Shumba, who is like this big demon guy with 6 arms, and he's wearing like an entire leopard around his waist. I've never seen someone wear an animal like that before. So he asks one of the fodder gods who rules the place, and he says it's the god of destruction and the god of storms. And Shumba laughs at that, and his younger brother Nishumba, who has 3 faces and is like a really cool design. This is why I was really excited for Shiva to go up, is because the Hindu gods are so out there in comparison to a lot of the Western deities that we're more familiar with, with like Greek and Norse, and then even with like the Egyptians, which are not Western, but these things that we're more familiar with in the Western world, they're kind of bland in comparison to a lot of Eastern religions. Not so much with Egyptian mythology, because they've got like animal-headed gods and stuff, so they're like an intermediary between the bland to super out there stuff when it comes to mythologies. But yeah, it's really cool to see like all of this stuff after seeing the Greeks for months and months and months on end. For more than a year, just seeing Greeks. But Shiva and Rudra show up, and they're basically like, hey, you guys better get out of here, we're gonna rough up your shit. So Shiva headbutts, oh god, I'm already forgetting his name, Shumba. Okay, so Shumba's the big one, and Nishumba is the younger, smaller one. So Shiva headbutts Shumba, and then basically him and Rudra just get into a fight with all the Asura. And it's explained they would spend their days fighting. For Shiva, Rudra was his best friend. Oh, isn't that so nice and wholesome? Yes, nothing could ever go wrong here, could it? So after the battle, they're just sort of chilling out. And Rudra asks Shiva what he has planned for the future. And Shiva says that he's going to become the king of dance. And that he's just sort of gifted at dancing. So, of course, he's going to shoot for doing that. Which is very different from being the basically supreme god of the Indian pantheon. So we'll get into the implications of this later. So Rudra says that he has something that he's shooting for, but he doesn't want Shiva to laugh at him if he tells him. So he tells Shiva that he has a dream. So naturally, Shiva starts laughing at him and making fun of him. And he says that you think you're a human, which is pretty funny. So Rudra headbutts Shiva, and then goes on to explain that he wants to stand at the top of the kingdom of the gods of India, and we have like this big mountain in the distance that's going up into the clouds. And that he has to try, and he asks Shiva if he knows how many have tried. So this whole situation with no supreme god and all of the various deities in India fighting each other has been going on for a while. And Rudra wants to be the first person to see the peak, basically. So he asks Shiva if he'd go along with him. And Shiva's like, Alright, I really have no interest in doing that, but it's always fun to do things with you, so I guess I'll tag along. Um, so they're both laying down, and Raiden, or, oh my god, Raiden, not Raiden, Rudra. I'll get into the similarities in a second there. Um, he tells him that there's, like, bound to be plenty of surprises along the way. And Shiva agrees with him, and then we end off the chapter with the two of them, like, walking off to go on their Shonen manga journey. So we got, like, a shorter chapter this month. I know this chapter certainly felt short, but I kind of expected that, because that's sort of the pattern. You get a short chapter, and then a longer chapter, and then you get a double chapter. That's how the pattern goes. So if we have to trade a short chapter for getting a long chapter and a double chapter 2 out of the 3 months, I'll settle for that. I think that's a fair trade. Now, alright, let me try and go through this in order. The similarities between Rudra and Raiden are very obvious. Rudra is a god of storms, Raiden is named after the Japanese god of storms, or lightning, or something, I think. I'm trying to remember what Susanoo is, since he's on the roster. I think he's the god of storms? Yes, and I believe Raiden's the god of lightning. I'm sure many of you recognize the name from Mortal Kombat. Now, here's an interesting Hindu mythology thing. Rudra and Shiva are often considered to be the same deity, essentially. From what I understand, Rudra is basically Shiva when Shiva decides to destroy the world or something. That's the gist of what I get. So, here, in the backstory, Rudra and Shiva are two separate people, and notably, Shiva is missing his bottom 2 eyes. He only has 3 eyes in this backstory. He also doesn't have his tattoos, but notably, Rudra does have those tattoos around his neck and his arms, and, like, on his face. Like, the eyes that he has, or the tattoos that he has next to his secondary eyes. That's what Rudra has right now. Now, we have not seen Rudra in the present, and you would think, with Rudra being his best buddy, that he would be there with him. And also, Shiva had no desire to be the supreme Indian god. So, let's talk a little about what's probably going to happen next month. Because next month we're obviously going to get the conclusion of Shiva's backstory, and probably entering the 3rd act of the fight, I think. I think we've got 3 more chapters out of this, so we can get a long chapter and then a double chapter out of it. That seems super plausible to me. So, here's what I think is going to happen. You're going to have Shiva and Rudra going on their little shonen adventure to become the strongest god in all of India. And something bad is going to happen along the way. They're going to fight someone super strong. I don't know, maybe Vishnu or something. Who knows? And Rudra's going to be mortally injured or something. And he's going to give his power to Shiva. They're going to do like a fusion or something. And as a result, they get the mixed qualities. Shiva becomes way stronger, and he's able to complete Rudra's dream of becoming the strongest god in India. He carries on his dream for him. And I assume along the way he'll meet, like, his wives and shit like that. And that will probably be why the other gods believe in Shiva so much. Because we already saw a little bit of that with him basically being the guy that they go to whenever they need help. He's their handyman, pretty much. Now, I thought about it. I don't remember if it was me or if it was a MySD in the Shumatsu server that basically think that the end of Shiva's backstory will be him reaching the top of the mountain, and then his second set of eyes will open, and then that will immediately transition to the present, and Shiva will open his other pair of eyes, and we get Shiva in serious mode, and then he starts doing the Dance of Destruction. And that's the entering of the final act of the fight. That sounds very plausible to me. Now, what would be the ramifications of Raiden basically being a reincarnation of Rudra? That seems extremely plausible to me. I still think Shiva's going to win, with Shiva getting this super, detailed backstory where Raiden basically didn't get anything. At least not yet. I'm sure Raiden will get something more later. And if Raiden actually is a reincarnation of Rudra, I think having Shiva's backstory before going more in depth about Raiden makes sense, because if they are going to do that, then setting this up first and then going into further detail about that later would make a lot of sense. It will probably be something along the lines of Shiva recognizing that there is a lot of similarity between humans and the gods. He's able to, like, they can see themselves. He can see themselves in humanity, and Shiva will win. And as has happened with all of the god victors, they have some sort of development that may make them a little bit more warm to humanity. Because at the beginning of the series, Shiva's like, man, these humans suck. We keep trying to enlighten them all the time, and they never listen, and they just keep fucking everything up. We will definitely be getting some kind of development from Shiva if he's going to win, which I, of course, think he will. And it'll be something along the lines of, oh, I guess the humans are more like us than we think. Maybe I should rethink this whole getting rid of humanity thing. I think it'll be something like that. I also think the theme of this fight, which we may be getting into, is going to be something about liberation. Because Raiden is liberating himself from the shackles of his body. Through his Voland, he is no longer imprisoned by his extreme muscle growth. He's able to realize his true potential. Whereas Shiva, it seems like, is going to be shackled by carrying on Rudra's dream and becoming the supreme Indian god, which is something that he never really wanted. And I kind of felt that at the end of chapter 35, where when the other Hindu gods were cheering on Shiva, like the expression on his face, talking about how they're always watching him and stuff and always relying on him, and how he never lets them down, basically. That Shiva feels like he's under a lot of pressure to do these things that he doesn't really want to do. And I think that's probably where the theme of the fight is going. So I guess we'll just have to see where that goes next month. Once again, this was a shorter chapter, so this is going to end up being a shorter video, and there wasn't as much to talk about. But I'm definitely looking forward to next month with our longer chapter. I'm very excited to see Shiva's serious mode, Five Eyes, and the Dance of Destruction. Well, I guess we'll only have to wait about 20 days? I mean, I read Raws, so I only have to wait like 20 days, but for you guys that wait for the English translation, that's going to be like a month. So, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I do Record of Ragnarok reviews every month. I recently got a second copyright strike on this channel due to my solo leveling videos, so if you enjoy my content, please join my Discord server. I have a link to it on my channel. There you'll be able to get any updates about what's going on with this channel, and any links to an alternate channel, should I have to make one. If you enjoy other series such as Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, Kengan Omega, and Bleach, I do videos on those series as well, so if you're interested, you should check out my channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you around.